Have you ever clung so tightly to something that when it left, it took a piece of you with it? A person, a dream, a version of yourself you thought would last forever. And then, suddenly it's gone. What if I told you it's not the leaving that hurts, but the grasping? In this video, we'll journey into a truth so quiet, most people miss it their entire lives. You don't need to chase what's already yours. In fact, the more you force, the more life slips through your fingers. But when you let go, something unexpected happens. Peace arrives. Stay with me to the very end, because this isn't just a teaching, it might just be your turning point. Part 1. The silent power of detachment. Imagine you're holding a handful of sand. You grip it tight, afraid to lose even a grain. And yet, the tighter you squeeze, the more it slips away. But when you open your palm, it stays. This is the paradox of attachment. We think holding on makes us strong. We think clinging keeps things close. But in truth, the act of clinging is often the very thing that pushes peace away. What is detachment really? In Buddhist wisdom, detachment isn't coldness. It's not apathy. It's not running away from life. Detachment is full-hearted presence without desperate need. It's showing up, loving deeply, and still being able to let go when it's time. It's the freedom to say, I'm here now, but I'm not afraid to leave when the moment asks me to. A story. The monk and the teacup. There's an old Zen parable about a student asking his master how to find peace. The master offered him a teacup and began pouring. He kept pouring until the tea overflowed. The student shouted, "Stop, the cup is full." The master smiled. "Exactly. You are like this cup, full of ideas, attachments, and expectations. How can peace enter unless you empty first? Are you holding too tightly? We grip things tightly, relationships, jobs, identities. Even our pain becomes part of our identity. We say, this is who I am. But the Buddha taught, attachment is the root of suffering. That means peace doesn't come from clinging, it comes from flowing. From allowing life to be what it is, without demanding it always go our way. Practice the softening breath. Next time you feel tension in your chest, pause. Breathe in softly through your nose. And as you exhale, say quietly inside, let go. Let go of needing to be right. Let go of needing to be seen. Let go of needing it to stay. Each time you breathe, imagine the clenching in your mind softening. That, my friend, is the beginning of freedom. Part 2. Acceptance is how you begin to heal. Acceptance is not a resignation. It is not saying, this is fine. It is saying, this is real. Because suffering doesn't just come from pain, it comes from resisting that the pain even exists. The mosaic of a life. Your life is not a flawless painting. It's a mosaic made from pieces, some bright, some broken, and when you step back you realize every crack has a purpose. The person who left, the failure that humiliated you, the plan that didn't work out, each one left a scar, but also shaped who you've become. A true story. When a storm refused to pass, a man lost his home to a fire. He stood there with nothing, grief, fear, shock. But something strange happened. After the ashes settled, he realized how much he was free. He said, I thought I lost everything, but I only lost the illusion of control. Acceptance doesn't erase pain. It opens space for transformation. Daily affirmation practice. Every morning, say this: I accept what I cannot change. I accept this moment exactly as it is. I don't need life to be perfect. I only need to be present. Over time, these words soften your nervous system. You'll feel it, like unclenching your soul. Truth from the Buddha. When you realize nothing is lacking, the whole world belongs to you. Acceptance is the gate through which healing enters. When you stop fighting the moment, you stop wounding yourself with it. You stop saying, "Why me?" and start asking, "What now?" Part 3. Trusting the unseen path. There's a deep kind of exhaustion that doesn't come from working too hard. It comes from trying too hard to control what was never yours to control. Your future, other people, outcomes, time. We try to micromanage life as if it were a spreadsheet. But life is not a spreadsheet, it's a mystery. And mysteries don't respond to control. They respond to presence, the tree that doesn't rush. In Buddhist philosophy, trust isn't passive. It's deeply aware. Imagine a tree in the forest. It doesn't panic during winter. It doesn't demand its leaves grow faster. It responds to the season. It trusts the sun will return. Can you trust your life in the same way? To bloom. This is the art of sacred timing. When nothing is certain, everything is possible. Zen proverb. When we stop forcing the future, we start flowing with it. Real life story, the job that didn't come. A young man once told me about a job he prayed for. He did everything right, applied early, interviewed perfectly, followed up. He didn't get it. He was devastated, convinced life had failed him. But 3 months later, another job appeared. Not only did it align with his skills, it connected him with people who changed his entire direction. He said, "If I had gotten what I wanted, I would have missed what I needed." That's what trust does. It opens your hands to something bigger than your plans. Practice. Track the miracles in the detours. Start a trust journal. Each evening, reflect. What went differently today? What unexpected thing opened a new door? Where did life reroute me? And was it for the better? You'll begin to see patterns. Proof that letting go didn't leave you empty, it led you somewhere real. Trust isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Control says, "I need to know." Trust says, "I don't need to know, I just need to show up." You don't have to leap blindly, but you do have to step softly, even when the path isn't clear. Because peace doesn't come from certainty. It comes from alignment with what is. Let life reveal itself to you. You might be exactly where you need to be, just in a season you don't understand yet. Part 4. Why control is the enemy of peace. Control is seductive. It gives you the illusion of safety. The illusion that if you plan enough, perfect enough, hustle enough, you'll be okay. But the truth is, control is fear in disguise. You try to control because you're afraid of loss, of failure, of being unprepared. But life was never meant to be perfectly prepared for. It was meant to be lived. The river that doesn't resist. Think of a river. It flows through mountains, around rocks, over roots. It doesn't curse the obstacles it flows with them. But imagine if a river said, "I only want to go straight." It would flood, it would stagnate, it would break its own flow. You are that river. And control is the dam holding you back. Trying to control everything is like trying to hold your breath forever. It's not life, it's survival. Buddhist reflection. Story. The woman who lost her plan. I met a woman once who had spent a decade building her career. She had the title, the income, the status. But inside, she felt hollow. She ignored it until her company restructured and her position vanished. She panicked. She fought to stay. But when she finally stopped resisting, she discovered something unexpected. She began painting again. She opened a small studio. A year later, she said, "I thought I lost control, but what I actually lost was the illusion of control. What I gained was freedom." Huge. Practice. Surrender in micro moments. Control often creeps in small ways. Obsessing over a text reply. Replaying conversations in your mind. Rushing decisions because you fear the unknown. In those moments, pause. Close your eyes. Place your hand on your heart. Say, "This moment doesn't need my control. It needs my trust." This simple phrase rewires your nervous system. It pulls you out of panic and into peace. Let go of the script. We all have a script in our minds. By 30, I should be married. This person should love me back. My life should look different by now. But life doesn't follow your script. It follows truth. And the truth is, peace isn't in the outcome, it's in the surrender. You don't find clarity by gripping tighter. You find it by loosening your expectations. Part 5. Impermanence is your greatest teacher. We hold on because it feels safe. We cling to people, routines, identities, and plans not because they still nourish us, but because they're familiar. But familiarity is not the same as truth. And in Buddhism, there is one truth that runs deeper than all the rest. Everything changes. Everything ends. That might sound harsh, but in reality, impermanence is not a punishment. It's a profound teacher. Ute. Why impermanence isn't the enemy. Most suffering begins when we expect things to stay the same. When we treat temporary moments as permanent fixtures, when we try to freeze time around something we love, but nothing, no joy, no pain, no person, no chapter was ever meant to stay forever. This too shall pass isn't just a comfort during hard times. It's a call to wake up during the beautiful ones. Story. The sunset he never noticed. A father used to walk his daughter home every day. He'd stare at his phone, rushing to get back to work. One day she said, "Daddy, did you see the sky today? It looks like it's on fire." He looked up and saw the most brilliant sunset he'd ever seen. A sky ablaze with gold, pink, and violet. That's what impermanence does, it reminds us. This moment will not repeat itself, so don't miss it. Reflect on, practice. Reflect on what's changed. Tonight, reflect. What have you lost that taught you to grow? What chapter ended that gave birth to something new? What small joy did you almost miss today? When you begin to honor impermanence, you stop postponing your life. You stop saying someday and start saying now. That's how you taste your tea deeper. Listen more intently. Love more freely. Not because it will last forever, but because it won't, and that's what makes it sacred. Zen wisdom. You cannot step into the same river twice, because both you and the river have changed. Impermanence doesn't mean nothing matters. It means everything does. The coffee cooling in your hands. The sound of a friend's laughter. The silence of a late night alone. You don't have to hold it forever. You only have to be there for it while it lasts. Part 6. Presence, the doorway to liberation. We live most of our lives everywhere but here. Regretting the past, rehearsing the future, scrolling through lives we don't live. But life isn't happening in your memories. It isn't happening in your plans. It's happening now in this breath. And if you miss this moment, you miss your life. What is presence? Presence is not passivity. It's not doing nothing. It's doing one thing fully, with your whole attention, with your whole heart, eating and tasting, listening and hearing, breathing and feeling. Most people confuse movement with meaning, but true meaning comes from depth, not speed. Got story. The monk and the spoon. A student once asked a Zen monk, "Master, how do I find enlightenment?" The monk replied, "When I eat, I eat. When I walk, I walk. When I sleep, I sleep." The student was confused. "But isn't that what everyone does?" The monk smiled. "Number, most people eat while thinking, walk while planning, sleep while worrying. That is the difference. Presence is not what you do, it's how you do it." Brooke. Practice. Come back to the body. When your mind drifts, return to the body. Feel your feet on the ground. Notice the air on your skin. Hear the subtle sounds around you. This simple return, the awareness of "I am here," is where freedom begins. Because when you're present, anxiety fades. Not because the world is perfect, but because your attention is whole. And where your attention goes, peace follows. A simple invitation. Tomorrow morning, before you check your phone, try this. Take 3 breaths. Feel the texture of your bedsheet. Notice the way light touches the wall. Smile just because you can. These are the smallest acts, but they hold the greatest peace, because the present moment doesn't ask you to fix anything. It only asks you to notice. Part 7. You are not your thoughts. Your thoughts can be loud, critical, anxious, relentless. But here's the truth. Most of us were never taught. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that notices them. This single insight can liberate you from decades of mental noise. The sky and the clouds. Imagine your mind as the sky. Your thoughts like clouds drift across it. Some are light and soft. Some are dark and heavy. Some pass quickly, others linger. But no matter how many clouds appear, the sky is unchanged. It remains vast, open, still. You are not the storm. You are the sky that watches it. Gauge, practice, label and let go. Next time, a strong emotion arises, pause and observe. Don't say, "I am angry." Say, "Anger is arising." This small shift creates space. Space between you and the emotion. Space between you and the story. And in that space there is choice. You no longer react blindly. You respond with awareness. Story. The man who believed every thought. There was once a man whose mind told him he wasn't good enough. So he never applied for the job, never confessed his love, never tried to heal. He believed every story his thoughts told him. Until one day, he met someone who challenged his entire worldview. A monk who said, "Thoughts are like passing strangers on a train. Some are kind, some are not, but none of them are you unless you invite them to stay." The man began to notice. Some thoughts were just echoes from his childhood. Others were projections of fear, not truth. Many weren't even his, just borrowed beliefs from others. And slowly, he learned to sit beside his thoughts without becoming them. That is mindfulness. Why this matters. If you believe you are your thoughts, you will always feel unstable. Because thoughts change. They contradict themselves. They swirl like wind. But when you remember that you are the observer, not the storm, peace becomes possible. Your thoughts are not facts. They are just passing weather. This is emotional resilience. Part 8. Stillness isn't emptiness, it's wisdom. We live in a world obsessed with motion. We measure worth by productivity. We avoid silence because it feels like nothingness. But here's the secret the ancient monks knew. Stillness isn't where nothing happens. It's where everything real begins. The still pond. Imagine a still pond at dawn. No ripples, no wind, just reflection. You see clearly, not because the pond is busy, but because it's quiet enough to mirror truth. Now, imagine your mind like that pond. Every worry is a ripple. Every fear is a gust of wind. You don't need to add anything to gain clarity. You just need to stop stirring the water. Stillness is where truth rises. When was the last time you let yourself truly sit in silence? No phone, no music, no distractions. Just you and the quiet. In that quiet, truth surfaces. You begin to hear the wisdom you've buried beneath noise. The real desires behind your striving. The unhealed pain behind your perfectionism. In stillness, we meet ourselves. One story, the silence that saved her. A woman battling burnout once told me she feared stopping because she thought, if I stop, I'll fall apart. But when she finally paused, something miraculous happened. Yes, she cried. Yes, she felt everything she'd been running from. But then came clarity. Then came peace. Then came strength. She said, stillness didn't break me. It brought me back to myself. Gumen. Practice. Create micro stillness. You don't need to meditate for an hour. Start with 1 minute. Sit in a quiet room. Close your eyes. Feel your breath move through you. Say silently, I am here. That's it. Stillness isn't performance. It's presence. And the more you practice it, the more powerful it becomes. Summary reflection. Part 7 taught you, you are not your thoughts. When you observe them instead of believing them, you gain freedom from the noise. Part 8 reminded you, stillness isn't emptiness. It's where you finally hear yourself. And when you live from awareness and stillness, life softens. Decisions become clear. Peace becomes natural. Because in that sacred space, you're no longer chasing, you're simply being. Part 9. Resilience through change. Change doesn't knock politely. It arrives like a storm unexpected, inconvenient, and often unwanted. It tears away your comfort, shakes your plans, leaves you standing in a life you no longer recognize. And yet, what if change isn't the enemy? What if it's the invitation? Change is never painful, only the resistance to change is. Buddha, the Phoenix Principle. In many traditions, there's a sacred symbol of transformation. The phoenix, a bird that must burn before it can rise. It's not punished by the fire, it's refined by it. The same is true for you. Resilience doesn't come from avoiding difficulty. It comes from staying present with what hurts and choosing to grow anyway. Story. The garden that grew in ashes. There was a man who lost everything in a single year. His job, his partner, his health. At first he asked, why me? But then he asked a better question. What is this showing me about who I'm becoming. He stopped resisting. He began journaling, meditating, moving slowly through the grief instead of rushing to fix it. And over time, something unexpected happened. His values changed. His self-worth deepened. His priorities realigned. 1 year later, he said, "That loss didn't destroy me, it revealed me." This is the essence of Buddhist resilience. Not bouncing back, but awakening forward. Practice. Reframe the story. Take a moment and ask, what challenge am I facing right now? What might it be inviting me to release? What strength might I be cultivating through this? Resilience isn't toughness. It's softness without collapse. It's staying open, even when life feels hard. And just like the lotus, you grow not in perfect conditions, but in the mud. Part X. Freeing yourself from ego's illusions. The ego is loud. It wants to win, to be admired, to be right. But behind its noise lies something quieter, something wiser, the true self, the one who doesn't need validation to exist, the one who knows without proving. What is the ego, really? In Buddhism, the ego isn't a villain, it's a misunderstanding. It's the part of you that believes your worth is tied to your achievements, your image, your story. It fears vulnerability, so it builds armor. But armor doesn't just keep the world out, it keeps you in. Ego says, "I am everything I have." Wisdom says, "I am everything I already am." Or story, the identity that broke. A woman built her identity around being the strong one. She was the achiever, the helper, the never asks for help type. For the first time, I wasn't performing. I was just me, and I was enough. She learned that her ego wasn't her enemy. It was just scared, trying to protect her from pain. And when she gently said, "You can rest now," a deeper, freer version of herself came forward. Yujid. Practice. Dissolve the image. Next time you feel the need to prove something, pause. Ask, what am I trying to protect? Ask, what would happen if I let this mask fall? You'll often find the fear isn't about the moment. It's about the story you've told yourself. But you are not your story. You are the awareness behind it. And when you live from that place, there's nothing to defend. Only peace to embody. Naught final thought on ego. Letting go of ego doesn't mean you disappear. It means you appear more fully, more clearly, more honestly, because who you truly are doesn't need to shine. It already glows. Part 11. Flowing with the universe instead of fighting it. What if the universe is not something to conquer, but something to collaborate with? We often move through life like it's a battle. We plan, control, strive, believing that if we push hard enough, we'll make life bend to our will. But what if life isn't asking to be pushed? What if it's asking you to listen? When I stopped chasing, everything I needed began to arrive. Zen teaching. Life is a dance, not a drill. Imagine life as a dance, sometimes graceful, sometimes clumsy, but always moving to a rhythm greater than you can hear with your ears. Your job is not to choreograph every step. Your job is to stay in tune. The ego fears surrender, but the soul thrives in it. When you stop trying to control every beat, you start to hear the music, and in that music, you'll find a peace far deeper than certainty. Ort's story, the man who released the oars. A man spent years rowing upstream, trying to control every outcome, every relationship, every twist of fate. Then one day, exhausted and disillusioned, he let go of the oars. To his surprise, the river didn't drown him. It carried him gently, quietly, into a new current, one more aligned than anything he'd ever planned. He said, "I didn't give up. I gave into the wisdom I had been ignoring." That is flow, not passivity, but presence with surrender. Practice. Notice the places you force. Ask yourself, where in life am I swimming against the current? What would happen if I stopped pushing and started listening? This doesn't mean you stop showing up. It means you stop struggling against what's already trying to carry you. Let the path reveal itself. Sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is stop resisting. Bonus lesson. Detachment is a daily practice, not a final destination. Too often we treat peace as a goal, something you get to one day when everything is perfect. But peace doesn't live in the future. It lives in the choices you make daily. Enlightenment is not a destination. It is the art of returning to now. Buddhist reflection. Detachment is like hygiene for the soul. Just like you brush your teeth, eat nourishing food, or stretch your body, detachment is how you cleanse your mind. You don't do it once and call it done. You return to it again and again. Because each day, life will tempt you to grasp, to chase, to control, to compare, and each day you'll have the chance to come back to center, back to breath, back to trust, back to stillness. Practice. Create a letting go ritual. Here's a simple practice to close each day. Sit quietly before bed. Ask yourself, what did I cling to today? Close your eyes. Picture releasing it like a bird into the sky. Whisper, huge. You don't have to force what's already yours. Just make space and let it find you. If this journey touched your soul, subscribe to the Enlightened Mind for more weekly teachings. Drop a comment below, what are you letting go of today? And share this with someone who's holding on too tightly. Because sometimes the deepest peace begins with just one whisper, I release.